and welcome to What's On at Cineworld Cinemas. I am Luke Owen. I'm joined this week by Ollie Davis from WrestleTalk, and here is what's coming up on today's show.
We'll be looking at the potential of Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine in the MCU.
It's a Black Widow special of What's On, as we'll be looking at the movie now that it's out in cinemas and how it's been specifically designed for IMAX.
We'll be checking out what else is on at cinemas, including Freaky and Fast and Furious 9.
And we'll be looking at what you can pre-order tickets for and our upcoming unlimited screenings. But before we dive into what's on at Cineworld Cinemas, let's look at what could be on in a few years' time. You know, maybe 2024, 2025, that sort of time. The not too distant future. Because old, huge, jacked man, Hugh Jackman, has been doing a little bit of teasing to us comic book movie fans, which I feel like we sort of needed a little bit. Now that Black Widow is in cinemas, this kind of like feels like a bit of an injection, sort of an adrenaline injection into comic book fans being like, get excited about the future of the MCU again. Because he's teased by his Instagram stories that he could be returning as Wolverine in the MCU, posting a picture of, it's like this Boss Logic artwork of the Wolverine claws, and then a photo of him with superfan Kevin Feige. What do you make of all of this?
You think it's Wolverine? I thought we were finally getting the Greatest Showman expanded universe with a sort of musical pocket dimension. Well, no, you just do musical versions of all the great MCU movies so far. You've got the magical side of the MCU they're developing. You've got the space side, outer space, extraterrestrial stuff. Musicals.
I thought you meant that we were going, like, he was essentially saying that this is the start of the Hugh Jackman expanded universe of his musical characters. So one of them, like, you know, The Greatest Showman is one movie, Les Mis is another movie, and then they're going to do like a big crossover film with those two characters finally meet.
I'm trying to think of other Hugh Jackman movies, and weirdly, the only one that's in my head is Swordfish. Swordfish, you know, when he's a hacker in the late 90s with John Travolta. Swordfish.
And Halle Berry.
And they can all come together like the sort of, what's it called in the old Marvel storyline? Not Secret Wars, where they're all brought together onto one planet. No, where they're all brought together onto one planet. No. Battle to the death.
Secret War, wasn't it?
Is it Secret War? Whatever. Whatever that one is, all of the Hugh Jackmans can battle against each other for supremacy. And I think going by all, you know, that can be like a quick prologue bit. Here's what's been happening with Hugh Jackman since Logan. You play that before whatever Marvel movie he's going to star in. You just have 5 minutes of just fights to the death of all the Jackmans. And I'm pretty sure Wolverine would come out on top, kayfabe-wise.
I mean, you'd think so, wouldn't you? Because, like, he is, I mean, as much as impressive as B.T. Barnum was at singing, I don't think he would win in a fight against Wolverine.
But he could do a rousing number.
Oh, what, like, confuse him?
Yeah.
Confuse him by the medium of song?
Wolverine, as we're seeing with this potential reinsertion of him into comic book movies, is unkillable. So no matter how big a number P.T. Barnum would put on, Wolverine would recover, re-heal, and probably get 3 more movies.
Remember that comic book when he was fighting the Hulk, and the Hulk like literally ripped him in half and sort of like flung him across like sort of different planes of the desert, and then the top half of Wolverine just crawled its way back to the bottom half of it so he could reattach himself.
Nice. But this is very exciting. And I think it's been a matter of time. What I'm most excited about, weirdly, is I feel like, obviously, X-Men into the MCU is just enough by itself, but I've been sort of thinking about that for a decade. That's not new for me to get excited about. It's more, I feel like this brings a Hugh Jackman cameo into Deadpool, more likely.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I feel you. I'm hearing you.
I want that to happen.
So you want like Deadpool? I mean, Deadpool 3, Deadpool versus Wolverine. It's like that as a title right there, rather than just Deadpool 3. Like that is what you put up on the poster, right?
No, you put Deadpool versus Hugh Jackman, and it's not. And Deadpool is fighting the actor, the real person, Hugh Jackman, because it's already been set up in those movies, thinking he's Wolverine. And then at the end, he reveals he's Wolverine.
He's actually Wolverine.
Oh, the levels of meta.
Oh, I love that. I love that a lot. I want that movie above anything else now. I mean, because we are in a sort of a multiverse world at the moment. It feels like within the MCU, we've got the multiverse of madness coming up with Doctor Strange. Spider-Man feels like he's doing a lot of multiverse stuff with the rumors of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield being in his movie. So like, it feels like it's sort of opening up this possibility that Wolverine from the X-Men world can just make his way into the MCU. Sort of basically, it's like the cheapest way of getting them in.
But so you think it's just a case of, oh, we've found another dimension where the X-Men have been existing, the Foxverse since 2000, 2001, and you just bring them in that way. And then I think that's the best way, because you can bring both continuities together without devaluing one. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to see them all recasted. And I think you can do that with sort of, reinserting the X-Men. But I'd be ashamed to see Wolverine recasted.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you've got to, like, if you're going to recast Wolverine, you have got to do a banging job of this, because like this is a guy who essentially, he personified the role for 15 or so years. He was Wolverine. He was like the perfect person to play that role. Like, I think it would be like trying to recast Captain America at this point. Like if you were to reboot Captain America franchise, like, because Chris Evans or like, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, like was so brilliant in those roles that it would be hard to find a different version of them. The only other thing I wanted to add in about this sort of like Wolverine tease that Hugh Jackman did, it brings to mind, do you remember the last time that Hugh Jackman did a massive tease on the internet where he was like, I've got some big news coming tomorrow? And everyone was like, holy hell, he's coming back as Wolverine. This is the big announcement. Can't wait. This is going to be the best thing ever. And what he actually announced was, I'm doing a singing tour. Please come buy tickets to see me in concert. And everyone was like, boo you, Hugh. We wanted you to announce Wolverine, you big bellend. What are you announcing a singing tour for?
I feel for the guy. I feel for him there. That was obviously very important to him. He's got his like roots in theater and everything. And that's a cool thing to do. Really, so cool. Really cool. Like a tour of a one-man show, essentially. But no, until he does Wolverine again, the main reaction to anything he does is, when are you going to do Wolverine again?
Yeah, so I just sort of feel like, what if this is just another way for him to announce I'm doing another singing tour now that sort of like theaters are opening back?
Produced by Kevin Feige. I don't think this is this is a pretty clear tease here. If he's if he's annoyed by the
he's trolling it. He's doing it this way to get people interested, get people excited, just so he could go, lol, I'm actually doing a singing tour again.
Lockdown's over. I'm back on the road. Not doing Wolverine.
But Ollie, here it is. Like, cinemas have been open for a little while now. We've had some big hitting movies. We've had Fast and Furious. We had Freaky. We're going to talk about those in a little bit. But I mean, is this our first like event film that we've had since cinemas have reopened? Black Widow is here. It's been delayed by a year or so. It's our first big screen return to the MCU. It's out now. I'm actually going to see this evening. We're recording this on a Wednesday like we always do, but I've got my tickets to book to see it this evening. I'm missing the England game, so I can go and watch this instead.
Whoa. Movies are coming home for you, not the football.
I'd pre-booked my tickets, didn't think we'd get this far. So I'm going to see it this evening, and I'm so super excited. How are you feeling about Black Widow?
Yeah, I can't wait. It feels like that the stopper is really off now, because all of these films are getting released very quickly. Like, it blows my mind that the Suicide Squad is getting released this month as well. For me, I think Fast and Furious 9 was the big, like, well, hey, big movies are back again. Cinema, yes. But yeah, Black Widow is a very quick second follow-up punch for it. One of the last big movie experiences I had before lockdown was Endgame. Me and you saw it together at Cineworld, and I just that was Well, actually, Spider-Man was after that, wasn't it? But like the last,
yeah.
Those were two very definitive experiences for me in 2019 before the movies shut down again. And I can't wait to go back and revisit those characters, especially like, what happened to Black Widow. I want to see. We've always asked for a solo Black Widow movie, and they've given it to us, despite also killing her in another movie. But that's fine.
I thought it was actually sort of a wonderful little sort of sleight of hand, because they'd announced the Black Widow movie, so everyone went into Endgame expecting her to come out the other side of it alive, because that's how you get your solo movie, right? And then they're like, nope, sorry, actually, she's dead now. We killed her. This film was actually set after Civil War, and you're going to sort of find out what she's doing in that regards instead. So I thought it was actually really quite like nice sleight of hand there by Marvel. I'm so looking forward to that moment where I sit in my seat. The lights go down. I've got my big tub of popcorn and my drink in that, and then that fanfare starts for the Marvel Studios logo.
Dun 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 dun
dun dun dun
dun dun dun dun dun. Honestly,
I'm so excited.
My heart rate goes, and I start crying like immediately. Ever since they did the one with all the Stan Lees, like that's what I see now. Even though that was only Captain Marvel, I believe. Like every time I say it, I just think of Stan Lee, and it's just such a great state entry. You're in the sort of church of cinema where everything's quite hushed and it's dark, and then you see this, and it's just like this cue for my brain, this Pavlovian response to just go, "Oh yeah, you're in for a good ride, boy."
Oh, we're here now. It's about time as well. We've got a bunch of ways to see this movie as well, because this is the first film of 2021 in Screen X, which we've talked about a bit in the last couple of episodes of. That's the 270-degree way to watch movies. Like, it's a full, like, wrap-around screen experience.
I've never been to one, and I cannot wait to go. One of my pet peeves in cinemas, and I get safety, is the fire escape sign. The fire escape sign in the corner of my vision. I'm just like, I wish like the screen just was wider and wrapped around me. And that's what Screen X is. If you haven't seen it yet, it's like obviously normal cinema screen in front of you, but it has two extended rectangular screens that sort of curve round at the sides to really envelop you. I guess like it's like the next step would be VR, but VR gives me a headache. So this is the best way for me to enjoy it.
There's also 4DX, which is where you see bounce around and stuff, and you get mist blown in your face and whatnot. It's like a nice visceral experience. But you sort of wanted to avoid, like, seeing that annoying little I say annoying, very, very specific.
Needs to be
place there. It needs to be there. Safety first. That little green light's there to be like, here is your fire escape. Man, you do not see that when you're watching this on IMAX. This film has been specifically formatted for IMAX, and I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark on IMAX when that got its re-release, and that was like probably the best screening I've ever seen of that movie as well, because it was like, oh my god, this film is massive. Like, the screen is ginormous and huge. So I haven't booked tickets to see the film tonight on IMAX, but I am going to see it again in IMAX in a couple of weeks' time.
Certain segments of the movie of Black Widow have been shot with full-on IMAX cameras. So you get that top and bottom shot that, like Screen X wraps around you. I guess IMAX is that other way in it, and it goes up and down and really completely takes over your visual field. And I was watching the trailer just before we started again, just to sort of refresh my memory. And there's one of my favorite action scenes in the MCU is in Iron Man 3. I don't think it gets talked about enough. It's when everyone's falling out of the plane and they have to, create the circle of people. And the big end bit of most of the trailers for Black Widow is her falling out of something in the sky and everything is exploding around her. I'm like, is that, surely that's the IMAX scene, one of the IMAX ones. That or Ray Winston. I think whenever Ray Winston is on screen, his entire face should be IMAX. Telling you the latest odds. Yeah.
But don't just take our word for it as to why we're excited to see this on 4DX, on ScreenX, on IMAX. Why don't we hear from one of the stars of the movie, OT Fagbenle, who sat down with Carla from Cineworld to talk about how he wants to enjoy Black Widow.
And speaking of experiencing a film and really feeling part of a film, at Cineworld we're actually showing Black Widow in 4DX, which I don't know if you know about it. It's kind of with moving chairs. Yeah, so it's moving seats in time with kind of what's happening on screen. You have effects like water spraying, fog coming out. You've got bubbles, you've got scents. Yes, water spraying, scents coming out. So if there's like tires screeching because of the rays, you can smell tires. So it's going to be in 4DX. It's also going to be in ScreenX, which is when you have like a screen in front and then 2 screens on the side. So it's 270 degrees screen around you. And it's obviously going to be an absolutely epic IMAX, which is, such an innovative technology.
You're blowing my brain out.
You personally, what would you be most excited to see the film on the big screen of?
I mean, what do you mean? You just told me there's a Porsche out there, and you're going to say, there's a bicycle over there, or what am I going to choose? I'll probably choose a bicycle, environmentally friendly. But the point is that experience you just said there, I'm definitely up for it. I'd have to be careful about what I wear. What can I get wet? But, that sounds amazing.
They're 2 different things. One of them is moving seats. One of them is the 270-degree screen.
All right. The 2 on the side of my screen, is that what's going on in my peripheral, or is that the main screen stretched out?
No, it's stretched out. So it's peripheral. So it kind of all works together.
No. Give me the shaking chair and all that.
One thing's for sure. I'm done running from my past.
I love the peripheral idea. I'm ready to be up, but like I think I'd have that and then check the seat and get the water spray. I mean, I'd definitely do it just for the and giggles.
Plus, you can do it the second or third time you watch the movie, so you don't miss anything.
Exactly.
And before we get into what else is on at the cinema, we want to have another trip behind the screens with I'm gonna be nice this time. Cinemania contestant Dan J. Layton. You've been Dan at Cinemania, haven't you?
I think most people have.
So he is not a winner. He is not a loser. He is a Cinemania contestant, Dan J. Layton, and he's taking you behind the screens of IMAX.
Hello Cineworld, it's Daniel J. Layton here to bring you behind the screens at our wonderful world of cine. And today, we're in the larger-than-life IMAX. But what is IMAX? Well, in broad terms, it's a unique system of high-resolution cameras, state-of-the-art projectors, and an optimized auditorium, all built to bring you the most immersive cinema-going experience. In other words, it's massive and loud and brilliant. But there are so many stairs. The screen stretches floor to ceiling and wall to wall, and it's curved. Big old curve. It's massive. So that no matter where you're sat, you get the full, true image. And if that's not enough, the actual material the screen is made of is more reflective and brighter than your average cinema. It's like a big high-vis jacket. But there's more to IMAX than making everything bigger. The content has been completely transformed. IMAX spends months on location and in the editing room working directly with the filmmakers, planning shots, remixing sound, all in a unique process of digital remastering that's known as IMAX DMR.
But it's not just Black Widow that's on at the cinemas at the moment. There's a whole heap of stuff to go and see, like Fast and Furious 9 in the Heights, which Laurie mentioned last week, recorded off air. He went to go see it and absolutely loved it. He forgot to mention it on last week's show, but he really, really enjoyed it. There's also the D'Artagnan movie, Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, and my pick from last week, and I went to go see it, Freaky, or Freaky Friday the 13th, as I sort of dubbed the elevator pitch for it. And, oh, let me tell you, it exceeded all my expectations. I was so hyped to go and see this movie, and I absolutely freaking loved it.
I made a mistake last August that I thought the movie was coming out in last September. So I started to get really excited. I've got a list of all the movies I want to see. Like when I hear about them or watch a trailer, I add it to this list. And that was right up there. And I was like, so when's it coming? When's it coming? And it's like now. But it's what I've seen it everywhere. What a premise to put a serial killer. And it's like such a smart inversion of the the slasher genre.
Well, that's what I really like about the director, because the same director did Happy Death Day. And Happy Death Day was essentially like, what if a slasher movie was set in Groundhog Day? And now we're doing like, what if a slasher movie was set in Freaky Friday? So that makes me think like, what's he going to do next? Like, what's the next? Let's take this like high concept film premise and make it a slasher movie.
So it's always a slasher movie that you've got to get there with. I was going to say just your typical high school thing, but that would be Scream.
That's every slasher movie, really.
Let us know in the comments. Tell us what genres.
Yeah, it has been done previously, but I'd like to see someone take High School Musical and sort of like turn it into a slasher movie. Like, a few people have done slasher musicals in the past, but I want like a proper High School Musical type movie where like maybe it's like they're in a musical, but the slasher doesn't realize he's in a musical. So like, and that's where some of the conflict can come from. Because I'm going to reveal this now. I once had a pitch for a movie and this was around when High School Musical was at its height, called High School Maniacal. And it was going to be sort of like a slasher movie set within a musical. But I'm not talented enough to go and make that sort of movie. So I'm going to put this out into the ether so that someone with way more talent than I can go and make that film.
Lin-Manuel Miranda. Come on. Hear the plea.
Oh, yeah, that's who you want to do it. Like, you want someone who could do like the best musicals possible. We've got a bunch of movies you can also pre-book tickets for, including a film that I am pretty excited for, because one of my first solo trips to the cinema, in fact, it was my first solo trip to the cinema without my parents, was to go and see Space Jam at my local cinema back when I was a kid. So I kind of have this thing now where like I want to go and see Space Jam: A New Legacy, because I mean, I did that back in like 96, 97. I want to go do it again, right?
I love Looney Tunes films. It's kind of like the Muppets. Like there are a handful of great ones, and then like immediately after the great ones, they go off the boil a bit with "Let's go to space" or "Let's go to Europe on holiday." But I'm similar. Space Jam for me, I saw a year before everyone else in school, because that was the year I went to Disneyland, Florida, or Disney World, Florida, and I was on the plane. And I saw it on the plane, and it blew my mind. The only sort of reference I had was Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So I thought the Looney Tunes and the Disney characters were all together anyway. Like eventually, like every now and again, they all got together for a party. So when I went to Disney World in Florida, there were no Looney Tunes. I was in such a sulk. But yeah, it's one of the Space Jam is one of the films I've seen more than any other, because I had it on VHS. And you know, when you're a kid, you just again. It's that, The Mask, and Men in Black, and Star Wars. Probably I've seen over 50 times at least. And I just hopefully Bill Murray's in it.
You want Bill Murray to come back?
I want a little cameo. It's one of my favorite jokes of all time.
This film appears to be like chock full of cameos anyway. Like, all of the trailers appear to be like spot the Easter egg. You know, like they've got like characters. I mean, this is Space Jam 2. There's a movie made for kids. In the background, I can see the cast of A Clockwork Orange, like in the background of a shot. That's nuts, right?
Well, that's it. It's made for kids, but I think all adults will have a more than fun time going to see it as well. I mean, I've not got kids, and I'm going to see it. But I really like LeBron James as well. I'm curious to see how he leads a movie. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be better than Michael Jordan, to be honest, because he is one of the best things in Trainwreck, the Amy Schumer movie from a few years ago. The same month, two of the best performances in that movie, LeBron James and John Cena, are coming out in huge, big budget films here.
You love to see it, particularly with John Cena as well, because like not only is he in Fast and Furious 9, he's in Suicide Squad as well. Yeah. Like, we've got two big budget John Cenas all at the same time. Ooh, and that's a good cinema month for me. That's a great cinema month. We've also got The Cruise to a New Age, and a movie that I know you're very excited to see, Blackpink The Movie. This is event cinema. It's only on the 4th and 8th of August. It's available in 48. I mean, me and Laurie said this last week. Screen X, that wraparound screen for like event movie going to see these guys in concert. But I know you're a huge fan. You were actually sending me just before air.
No, I don't.
Recording. You did. You like that's the song.
No, I recognize one song.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you like K-pop, I'm sure it's for you. It's definitely for my lady partner. I wake up most mornings listening to that song.
And lastly, before we get out of here, let's run through the upcoming unlimited screenings, starting with on July 13th, The Forever Purge. I talked with Laurie about this last week, how much I love the Purge franchise. And I love the idea of a group of people. They're just like, no, I'm not just going to be resigned to one day. Thank you very much. I want the Purge to last forever. Like I love. It's what I love how it takes its simple concept. It's just like, would it be interesting if we did this? Wouldn't it be interesting if we did that? What if we said it here? So I'm so excited to see this one.
Yeah, I love the concept for the Purge. I think, and I really admire the way the producers take the franchise, and they're like, "What's your hot take on this premise? What's yours?" And they just explore. And sort of bottle episodes. It's kind of like a Twilight Zone style exploration of a theme. And they get like, they're getting better.
And there's always like they always have a big interesting idea, and then within that there's like this even more like interesting little nugget to it. Like spoiler here for the first Purge that came out a couple of years ago. The big reveal in that movie is that it doesn't work. That the Purge, like for the first one, it doesn't work at all, and no one takes to it. So they have to like the government essentially force it to work, like by sending people in to go and shoot someone, but like to encourage people to get on board with it, and that's what kind of kickstarts it. I was like, what a genius little nugget to drop in there. That this whole thing, this whole experiment, was actually a failure, and it's a manufactured success. You've also got Deerskin on July 14th, Escape Room 2 on the 15th of July, Our Ladies on the 22nd of July, The Last Letter from Your Lover on the 27th of July, and Stillwater on the 3rd of August. Both of those, you can get your tickets now, actually. Both those are on sale today. Which movie for your unlimited screens are you kind of like most excited for?
Oh, the Forever Purge. I mean, there's Escape Room 2. There's a honorable mention for that because the trailer it just freaks me out. It freaks me out. But yeah, the Forever Purge, I just think it's such an interesting series, and I'm always interested in the premise they have.
And you can check out those unlimited screenings by making yourself an unlimited member of Cineworld. You can find more details about that in the video description down below. But that's all we've got time for on this edition of What's On at Cineworld. I've been Luke Owen. This has been Ollie Davis. Please do subscribe to this channel for more great movie content like this, and we'll see you next week.